Okay, let's begin our discussion about investment information. Um, Obviously, there's a wealth of information available to everybody, most of it free, quite frankly. The challenge, as we'll talk about some later, is the accuracy of that information. How has it been vetted? Has it been audited? Has it been fact checked? So if you think about investment research, right, there's lots of educational sites. Investing Online, Resource Center, the Investor Guide, Motley Fool. Lots of these are just sites you can go to, and they provide a variety of information from everything from investing to personal finance to life insurance, all kinds of information. The basic tools that we need some planning tools, something that can maybe help us set our goals, develop some financial plans themselves. Screening is about a filtering process where you identify some characteristics that you consider important. And then the website will go through and find all of the companies to fulfill your guidelines and your needs. So if you kind of think about the investment world, maybe there's 15 or 20,000 stocks that you could invest in the world. Wouldn't it be nice just to be able to dwindle that down into maybe 100? Right? 100 is still a lot to research, but compared to 15,000, 100 is much more reasonable and easier to follow. Charting tools will look at volume, look at price changes, etc. And of course, we can look at quotes. Some of these sites provide what are referred to as portfolio tracking. You can create a portfolio and it will follow that portfolio for 3, 4, 5 weeks, and you can go out and look and see what has happened performance-wise to this particular portfolio that you're following. FINRA is one of the sites we've talked about. Again, this is just a variety. Again, if you can click on this link here, it'll take you to the tools and calculators section. All different types of things are at your beck and call. Here's the stock screener for Zacks. There's also one for Yahoo Finance. There's also one for Morningstar. So there's a variety of companies that offer these screeners. And of course, all of these companies, most of them provide free information, but almost all of them, for a price, will upgrade you into a premier selection. So Zacks is one of these things that what you're looking at here are just the things that you can pick that are free. If you want to pay money, you can upgrade and get more choices, get more specific with the variables that you're looking at. Again, since we're not worried about really investing in general, we don't need to be that specific for our needs in this class. So what are the pros and cons of using the internet, right? I mean, there's lots of advantages, right? It's free. It's easy to get to. But we do have to worry about the truthfulness of this information, right? We have to understand that if you're doing this on your own, there's nobody on your shoulder that's going to give you cautionary advice, tell you, hey, maybe you ought to think about that twice. So you don't get this safety net from a live broker. If you're trading on your own, you have to worry about the frequency of trading. Every time you trade, there is a cost. And if you're selling for a profit within the first 365 days, there could also be higher tax burdens. So again, there's a variety of pros and cons of investing when you think about using the internet as part of your tools that you use. Information can either be descriptive or analytical. Descriptive is really fact-based kinds of information, and analytical information really talks about projections and the analysis and opinions of others. So again, we have to weigh the information that we get and the sources from which we're getting information. And of course, there's just so many different places to go to get information. There are financial journals, right? There's financial newspapers, business periodicals. Some of the business and finance oriented periodicals are very good, especially for people who are investing on the personal finance side. My favorites from this particular piece is this Kiplinger's Personal Finance is an excellent magazine for individuals who are looking to help themselves with some personal financial methods. One of the things, again, we have to be worried about is, where does the information come from? And one of the things, and it's kind of subliminal, I guess, it's an undercurrent of a publication, is where do all the investing dollars come from? Money Magazine is a great magazine. However, Money Magazine's primary advertisers are all no-load mutual funds. So most of their orientation in that magazine is geared towards the no-load mutual fund world. And again, when you leave out the rest of the world, are you getting a true picture of what you can expect with respect to information and investment opportunities? Certainly there are lots of government publications. We'll look at a couple of these. One's the Survey of Current Business. That's a great indicator to help us look at viewing the economy itself. Lots of subscription services available. Depending on the industry you're in, there are always some kind of a trade publication, like Chemical Week, right, or Public Utilities Fortnightly. Obviously these are very geared towards a certain sector of the economy. Obviously, you can get lots of information from companies through their websites. One of the things I always worry about are these subscription services and investment newsletters. I always worry about them because you really don't know who's driving that engine. But again, there's lots of information. The RMA Annual Statement Studies actually is in our library. That can provide you with financial ratios, etc., on an industry basis. So you can use that to help make comparisons between a company that you're looking at in the industry, to do a little bit of a performance rating. Again, we've talked about several kinds of subscription services. Brokerage reports are great. Unfortunately, they always cost money. So unless you are actually in this actively and doing this on your own, and you have the information or the ability to pay for these, I wouldn't worry so much about ever being able to look at brokerage reports. Pricing information is very important. And of course, it really doesn't matter what security you're talking about. There is tons of online investment information and sources. Things on options, things on mutual funds, on currencies. There's a great a wealth of information that can be garnered from the internet and obviously from the library. And one of the things I'm sure you're well aware of is that each company has a ticker symbol. And typically, if you're on the New York Stock Exchange, typically you're going to have a 2 or a 3-letter ticker symbol. And if you're on the NASDAQ, you will typically have a 4-symbol ticker symbol. And if you're in one of those other kinds of things, you could have a period, right? So maybe, again, just as an example, maybe it would be GE.BX. So that would tell you it's a GE stock, but it's a particular kind of stock that's on a different type of exchange. And finally, we do want to try to avoid scams, obviously, right? You have to watch about stock manipulators that are posting false news about companies. This is what typically happens with investment newsletters. These guys buy some stocks of companies that are low priced because they're not doing very well, and then they bring up the company's brand, right? They talk it up, they tell about how great it is, and then everybody reads the newsletter, everybody starts to buy, so which means that the price goes up, and then they sell their shares so that in the end, they can make a profit from this. Again, this is sometimes referred to as this pump and dump, right? Pump and dump, excuse me. So, going to hype a stock, sell out at the inflated prices, be aware of get-rich-quick things. In general, we need to ask some questions when we're talking about our beginning investments, right? Is the seller licensed? Is the investment registered? I mean, how do you know these things? You know them if you ask about them, right? What about the risks and the rewards with a particular investment? Do you really understand the investment? What is the thing that you're buying? And in the end, who can you turn to give you some help to understand what it is you're buying and all of the risks and returns that you can expect to be subjected to? So that's it for part 1 on investment information.